All right, man. I'm sitting here with Georgia Boy Outdoors, who's sitting right now. I don't know if you got any other streaming platforms, but the one that I know you from is TikTok, who's sitting at 1,700 followers currently, with 18,000 likes. Man, Jesus! As a hunting channel, that's kind of crazy. Um, and hunting down in my old stomping grounds down there in Georgia. So man, I'm glad you came in, and I'm glad you're on the show. Let's get into this. So, what's been going on, man? I'm glad to get you finally on here, dude. I'm so pumped. I've been seeing your TikToks, and I'm like watching you saddle hunt and watching you straddle these fucking trees, and
Yeah.
he's out there. I'm kind of pissed because like I said, I have the newborn, and I
Oh
haven't
yeah.
been out yet. So,
You're
dude,
kind of
what have you
locked
been
down
seeing?
right now,
Yeah, no.
man. It's just it's been good. Season kind of got to a quick start. It was rocky, but quick. Um, it's it's been one thing after another this season. My opening day, I just didn't get high enough in the tree, so I one stick, and I was probably 10, 15 feet. There was a limb and I got lazy. I was like, in the dark, it looked like I was at least, you think you're 20, 25 in the dark. The sun came up, I was like, I'm not 20, 25. And I'm looking and I see a doe coming in. She's about, what, 30, 40 yards away. There's some brush in front of her. I'm just like, well, she might come in, she might not. The next thing I know, I'm hearing something to my left. I'm like, oh no. Next thing I know, I'm about 20 coming in hot, another doe. I'm assuming she caught movement or something because she started bobbing and stomping her feet, doing a little tap
Yeah,
dance to the head bob thing. I was like,
yeah,
she about to just blow out of here, but she keep coming in, coming in, coming in, and eventually she just kind of she gives me a shot, but made the mistake, not well, yeah, rookie mistake of not letting her head get behind the tree, or not have something in between me and her when I'm drawing. And I'm like, oh, I have a shot, let me draw. And right when I draw, she goes and goes that way. So
yeah,
that was the first
yeah.
hunt of the season. And I was like, didn't get high enough in the tree. And then I got caught drawing. So that one kind of locked me in for the next couple hunts, for the rest of the past couple hunts for
Yeah.
the rest of the
Now,
season.
are you? I know you were saying, me and you've been messaging back and forth. I know you
Hmm.
said you mainly hunt public, but you have a couple of accesses to private land, right? Was
Yeah,
that your
this
first hunt? Was
season.
that public?
That was my first hunt was actually private. I have a mentor that's kind of helped me with my journey and the hunting side of things. And I've the past 3 seasons I've kind of opened up with him and my buddy Greg. So I've just it's kind of it's tradition at this point. So I got to opening day with my buddy Greg. So we're down
Yeah,
in South Georgia getting it done
yeah.
or trying
I think
to.
so many so many people wonder. They're like, why are you so superstitious? And I was like, no, listen, like there's a method to the madness, right? And if I do anything that deviates from what I normally do, whether it's like a tradition of like, your scent control to how you get ready to go out and then what you do when you get out there, right? Anything that deviates, I'm fully convinced, and I'm not sure that it actually does matter, but I'm fully convinced that that's how my hunt's going to go, is if how much it deviates, from one thing to another. So um but yeah, that's I can't tell you, man, how many times I've heard hunters who are like, that early morning climb, man, it gets everyone. It really,
Yep,
really does.
yep.
I know my first time using a climbing stand, it had iced over. So there was fresh coat of ice on every tree, right? And I
Oh,
had already set my stand. Stand had ice, so I knocked the ice off, and I climbed for an hour. Like, like I swear to God, like an hour and a half. That sun rose. I wasn't 10 feet off the ground, and I was like, "Well, shit." It's like this is. I was like, "Well, fuck, my my entire hunt's ruined." I was like, "There's I'm not even far off the ground that it's going to matter. Like if
yep.
there's a deer that comes in, they're going to see me,
Get
guaranteed."
all eye to eye
Um,
with them.
Yeah, so I think everyone who has climbed has had that experience. Now, you're part of the new movement with the saddle hunters. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say the movement, but I'm definitely a part of saddle hunting community, I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you like saddle hunting?
I love it. It's helped me because public land is really where I cut my teeth, where how I really indoctrinated myself into hunting was through public land. So it's a lot of walking, it's a lot of hiking. So the lighter you are, further you are able to get in there, the easier it is to get into places. So I was like, I gotta do something to be mobile. I'll watch a lot of the hunting public guys, and they kind of were the ones like, hey, that's kind of cool, like with the saddle hunting side of things. So they're the ones that kind of spurred me to kind of look into it. So I looked into it, got my saddle, first saddle, and then I was just like, hey, I like being light and mobile. I've gone in with the whole, what's the name of that? I had a climbing stand. It was super heavy. Can't remember the name of it. I just remember getting like the straps that came with it, and it was just like digging into my shoulder, and I'm just like a sweaty mess trying to get in. And I was living in South Georgia then. I was just like, I don't think this is it. I know people do it. I know it's possible. I'm in good shape. I can do it, but I'm just like, there has to be some easier way to doing this. So that's how saddle hunting became part of the repertoire.
I I don't trust myself enough to saddle hunt, and it's for the pure fact that I know that at so one of the places that I hunt because I am up here in New England, right? I'm stationed here in Connecticut for the Navy, and one of the places that I hunt in Rhode Island, right? So I have to drive like an hour and a half to get there before the hour before sunrise, right? So
Yeah.
when I get there and I've already been up since 2:30, 3 o'clock, right? And I've just drove this whole time. I'm exhausted. I'm tired already. Um, and I get up to this tree, the last thing I'm fucking with is ropes, right? Ropes and knots, right? And you think, and I know everybody's gonna give me shit for it. They do it every time. Everybody's like, "Well, you're a sailor, you should know not to eat my ass," right? Like, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it at 5:30 in the morning. I just want to go to my stand. I want to climb my stand, put me into, hook me into my harness, and I
Yep.
want to sit down and then listen to the woods wake up, right?
Yeah.
Like that's my ideology around it. Worrying about, well, did I tie that knot right? I'm gonna get down. Because
No,
when
I
7
gotcha.
o'clock comes around and the sun comes around and I see this like bullshit, bow line knot, I'm gonna be like, all right, well, if I fall, this is gonna be a rough day for me. So I've started to dabble a little bit into it,
Yeah.
but I know me personally, I would just rather rough it. Like, I'm just like, you know what?
That's the
I'm
bread
gonna
and
take
butter,
my
especially around
110
the set
pound.
down south with all these pine trees we got. I mean, they're straight. Just get up as high as you can in it. Like you'll be fine. You don't have to saddle hunt. Shoot,
Yeah,
sometimes in the mountains it's better to be on the ground. To be honest with you, there's some days I'm like,
100%.
I don't necessarily need any of this. I just need my bow or my firearm and get to it.
Yeah,
Just be in the right spot. But
no,
it's fun
100%.
having the saddle stuff though.
I think, I've had multiple times where I have killed several deer just being on the ground, right? Like getting there late and just saying, you know what, this is a comfy tree. I've got a rock wall protecting me from behind me. I know they're not gonna. If they do come down, they're gonna come down to the right or to the left, but I can see them as they're coming up. And right here is good enough. And I've still been successful there. So I think a lot of people who are getting into this and I say movement, right? Loosely. Movement being a lot of people are trying to figure out like, well, let me be as light as I
Yeah.
can when it comes to hunting, right? But
Hmm.
it being light also comes with being experienced, and I think people forget that. And I don't think a lot of people who are, these big platforms when it comes to saddle hunters specifically, they don't say. I've watched hundreds of TikToks where they're like, saddle hunting's easy, you can absolutely do it, and these dudes, like, for a full-time job, they're a fucking lineman, and they're climbing telephone
Good.
poles
Yeah.
as it is, and you're like,
Point made.
yeah. No shit, it's easy for you. You do this on a fucking daily basis, dude. But you know, an average Joe coming off the street who's never tied anything but his fucking shoelace, you know, you get these guys in there and you're telling them to trust this knot 35 feet off the ground for 6 7 hours, you know, for a full day hunt, and they're like, no, absolutely not. And I think that deters a lot of people away. So, you know, for saddle hunting specifically, please do your research, you know, do
Yeah.
test it, right?
Yeah,
The
tested at ground level, but most of the time, the good thing is I've only had to tie one knot, and that's because I one stick, and I was able to test it at
Oh
ground
yeah,
level. So with all the other stuff, you don't necessarily have to tie one. There's like the different connectors and carabiners. Like most of the stuff is already pre not tied for you, which is a good
yeah,
thing. So it's like you're I'll obviously check it and make sure, but most of the time it's already good and it's stable, and you really don't have to worry about too much. Now, if you get down to the DIY type stuff and messing around with things,
yeah,
and you are tying stuff, yeah, definitely check that out
yeah,
on the ground level before you take it up in the tree at couple like 5 o'clock in
yeah.
the morning.
I think I looked at it the other day and I was looking at like, because somebody had sent me one of the guys that, you know, that I've been hunting with for many years. He's a saddle hunter, and I was like, hey, send me what you would send somebody to get started, like just out of curiosity. Send me what you would send somebody to get started, right? And it was a DIY kit, and I was like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah,
It's like I'm
yeah,
already out. And he
yeah.
was like, why? And I was like, because I've got to tie these fucking knots, dude. Like, I'm out,
I
right?
got you. I
If
got you.
I buy a climbing stand, I get that out of the box, I throw the fucking cable into the back. All I have to do is worry about a cinch knot up above me to hold me onto the tree. That's it. That's all I got to worry about.
Hmm.
Get out of here, dude. I'm not worried about it. So, um, but no, I've gotten into a little bit of saddle hunting. I haven't tried it this year. I intend on it, but I will tell you, the trees up here suck. They suck to climb. They're horrible. Like finding a good climbable tree is one in a million. Um, most
What's
people
the
either
type of
hunt on the
trees you'll
ground.
have mainly?
It's the short spruce trees, so it's knotted to shit,
Okay.
and you've got branches out the ass. Right now, if you own this piece of land, or that you've been working on this piece of land, and you find a tree, you can set it up to be great. Like
Yeah,
it can
yeah.
absolutely be a great tree for you. But being on a public land up here, I will say, has been one of the hardest things that I've seen.
Hmm.
And I grew up, you know, hunting in southern Kentucky, and then grew up in northern Alabama, hunted in
Yeah.
southern Georgia, hunted in northern Georgia, hunted all the way through, you know, Mississippi and Louisiana. Did a lot of hunts in Tennessee. Knowing the difference between those trees and the trees we have here, the quality of trees
Yeah.
is just insane.
Yeah.
These trees, I would rather sit on the ground and not move for eight
Yeah. I
hours than
feel
try
you
to
on that.
find, you know, some of these trees. So,
No, I get you on
um,
that.
yeah, so I think those are big things. But no, I will say, if you're wanting to be a mobile hunter, a hunter that you're like, all right, I saw this tree this morning, it's great, but I saw them come out from, you know, across the way. I want to go hunt there this afternoon. Saddle hunting is absolutely perfect for that. You can just go set up over there this afternoon, no
Yeah.
issues. Find a tree worth climbing, jump up into that tree, and now you're looking at across, you know, the guy that's across the way who is sitting in a ground blind, and you're like, you know, you're already one step ahead. So
Yeah.
I think that's great. But um, now I saw you're pretty big into archery, right?
Yeah. Um,
How long
I would. What's that?
how long you been archery hunting?
2021 is when I got my bow. So I've been archery hunting since then. I would say this season has been the season for me truly buying in and to the archery side of things. Most of the time I would go through archery season. The second I could pick up my 30 six, I was picking it up and I was rocking out. But this season it's like I've fell in love with it again.
You got into it 2021.
Yep. So in 2021 is when I got started. And this has been kind of like a self-taught progression using YouTube University to try to figure out how to do
Yeah.
it. Didn't really have anybody like around me at the time other than my roommate. In grad school, he kind of was the one that really started me like, hey, this bow thing's kind of cool. And I get an extra like month of hunting that I wouldn't normally have until gun season came in. But before this season, I would normally just do archery season until the chance I could take my 30-06 out and gun season started, and I was toting the gun the entire time. But this
Jesus, you were hunting
season
with a
and the season before,
30-06?
yeah,
God, dude, you didn't want them to move.
yeah, it's been good. It's been dropping them. They don't go very far.
No, clearly not. You're shooting a cannon.
Exactly. But with the bow side of stuff, it's just this season. It seems like my mentality has changed. My thought process is like I enjoy harvesting with my bow now more than with my any type of firearm. Like obviously, it's a great go-to. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just when I harvested my buck in National Forest last season with my 30-06, it was just like I was ecstatic because it was my first public land buck. It was a nice one for for the area, and I was just like just the putting the time spent, the scouting, the e-scouting with Onyx and everything is just like I put in a lot of effort. But once I pulled that trigger and that gun went off, it was like it was just done, and it was like I was lacking something. Like everything was perfect except for something just didn't round the whole situation out. But I got three to wait no, two does on a button buck, which I thought was a doe, but it was not. So I got that's my tally right now for this season, and every single one of those situations, it was like the biggest buck of my life was out there with my bow. And when I harvested, it was just like it was the best feeling ever, except for the first one. Or first one, it was terrible because I missed or I hit back on the first doe that came out, and she ran off and was limping, and I just felt terrible about it. Then I got another shot. I was able to make a good shot, and it dropped right there, and it didn't really smooth things over, but it helped me to kind of learn. So getting back to it, the archery side of things just it fulfills me a little bit more than it does with gun, which is kind of interesting. But I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be toting that my Matthews lift probably the entire season. I'm not sure if I'm gonna pick up the gun unless a buddy of mine wants to go or something, or if I need a little bit more meat in the freezer.
Yeah, I think a lot of hunters, getting into this, I think they overthink this, right? Now, and it's easy for me to say that because I've been hunting bow for 12 years, you know. And it's easy for me to sit here and say, well, it's not that hard. And then I remember back to when I first started, right? And I couldn't hit the broad side of a barn. And I'm like, wow, I fuck all those guys who think this is easy, and all those professionals that I sit here and watch on Saturday mornings, come out here and smoke this 120, 180, 200-inch deer, and I'm like,
Yeah,
how do they do that? And they're like, well, this is nothing, but I do think when you get into that moment, right, and you have that moment where you're at full draw, right, and you are holding that pin on that deer, there's nothing I find more adrenaline rush than that moment right there. When you are the deciding factor of if I mess this up and I botch this shot, I take the difference between a humane kill and a mangled kill. Um, and any good hunter, will know the difference of that feeling, right? When you gut shot a deer, there's no greater like just dishonest to yourself where you're sitting here and you're like, I cannot believe I did that.
it's
Like
very
it's,
humbling,
oh
very
my
humbling.
God. Well, and it also humbles you when you go to field dress this deer and you got to
Yeah,
smell that shit.
yeah.
Oh my God, there's nothing worse. Or you hit the deer, you find the blood, but you find no deer.
Yeah.
That feeling right there is soul crushing.
Yeah.
But it is going to happen. And I think that puts a lot of people off from hunting, right?
Hmm.
I have missed more shots, and I have, and when I, especially when I first got started, right? I was making horribly chosen shots. I was like 13, 14,
Hmm.
and I was just excited to see a deer, right? That heart pounding, that the shakiness, the your adrenaline rushing, and you get this deer 30 yards away from you, and you're freezing your ass off. You've been sitting there all morning. You get this deer in, and you butch the shot, and you hit it, but you didn't hit it well, and
Yeah.
you just go home and you're like, I cannot believe I injured an animal that I didn't
Yes.
get to harvest, right?
Yes.
That alone is just it humiliating, right? Like you're just sitting there like, I cannot believe I did that. That's
It's
just
gut
so horrible.
wrenching.
So,
It's
um,
gut wrenching. It's the worst. Terrible thing.
oh my God, yeah. And I think you have so many people out in this world who look at hunters, and look at us, and they're like, I can't believe you had ever hurt a deer. I want to take this deer as humanely as possible. I would, if I could hunt this deer and it not feel any pain, but just be alive and then let next second just lights out, I promise you I would. That's not reality though. It's just not. And the biggest thing is, but what we can do is take smart shots. Take and take the practice, right, during the summer. I cannot
Yep.
stress that enough.
Yes.
Practice. I probably, before I harvest my first deer with a bow, I probably took 5,000 shots, just repetitive. And then I started taking shots in my deer stand. I would bring out my target, and I would start taking shots of what it looks like elevated. And
Yes.
then I would take shots quartering. I would take shots counter quartering. I would take shots with low light. I would take it with early morning light. Like, do the work, because it
Yeah.
does make a difference.
It does.
Um so yeah, that's definitely things that I would say I think a lot of people forget.
Hmm.
So um yeah, so what is it that you're shooting? You said Matthews
Yeah.
lift?
The Matthews lift.
Okay. That's a
Yeah.
that's a newer one, isn't it?
I think it's yeah. It's about what 2 years maybe old. Because there's a Lift X, and there might be another one. I'm sure Matthews is about to come out with another bow, so it'll at least be three three bows behind soon.
I
There's always something new coming.
Matthews is always putting out new bows.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I ended up actually getting away from Matthews. I was hunting, my first Matthew bow was 15 years ago. And this was when their cams system was so trash that, like, after about 2 to 5,000 shots, usually the cams would become loose and start rattling. And so
Mhm.
when I would pull it all the way back and I'd get it locked, the cam would shift and I would feel it pull back. And I was like, oh God. I was like, what the hell? So I ended up getting away from Matthews for a little bit. I have not been able to afford a Matthews since. So
Yeah.
I went to Hoyt, and I'm hunting Hoyt right now.
Nice.
Um, have no issue with it. Now, as a bow hunter, right, an avid bow hunter, what is your opinion for those who are crossbow shooters? Look at it. Like,
Get
everybody,
it how you
everybody
live,
starts to
man.
smile.
Get it how you live. I can't judge you. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Hey man, I got into crossbow hunting 3, 4 years ago. I still think it's cheating. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I feel like they have it in place for for people. Whoever
I
wants
I
it.
I smoked a doe last year with a crossbow that's like shooting at like 470
Hmm.
FPS,
Oh.
and this doe didn't even know it. Like, I hit her full broadside, just it
Hmm.
went straight through her, and I'm watching blood spew out both sides. It was a clean through pass, right?
Hmm.
And this doe did not move until she finally filled up with blood and just fell over.
Tipped over.
Um, and I realized then, I was like, this is cheating. This is This is
How
cheating.
would you equate it then? Like, what would you where would you put the crossbow then? Like, how would
I think
is it?
I think if you're over 450, right? Like 450's
Yeah.
fucking moving. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're slinging that bolt at 450. At
Mm-hmm.
450, anything less than 20 doesn't know it. Unless you're hitting shoulder. And
Yeah.
even if you hit shoulder at 450, you're blowing through
Yeah,
that
you're
shoulder
blowing
blade.
through
Um, and I mean, God, have you seen the broadheads nowadays? They're ridiculous.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
When I started bow hunting, it was just fixed. And then mechanical got introduced, and Rage was, I think, the first ones to really introduce the mechanical. Like it was two blade. I think it
Yeah.
was like an inch and a half or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, but now you have the fixed mechanical, and you have the hybrid breeds, and those
Yeah.
are terrifying.
Yep.
The cutting diameter of these broadheads
Mm-hmm.
is just bleeding them out within 30 yards. And if you're hunting a fixed or like a hybrid fixed mechanical broadhead and your deer runs anything over 70 yards, you should be ashamed of that shot. Like there's you absolutely butched the shot, and that's 100% your fault. So like I think the crossbow platform is awesome. I think it's great for hunters who want to bow hunt who maybe physically can't.
Yep.
I took a veteran out last year who had shoulder surgery, his fucked up shoulder and this, that, the other. He physically cannot pull back a bow. And so I put him on, but he wanted to get the feel of actually tracking the blood trail and this, that, the other. Um, so I took him out, and those scenarios, 100%. Those are awesome to watch. Those are super, super cool to watch these guys get to, track their blood trail and everything. But if you're shooting a 500 and I think 10 point, I think is the one with like leading FPS, and I think they're shooting at like 525 FPS
Dang, I know that.
with the inverted crossbow. Oh my God, it's ridiculous. Like I'm telling you, man, it is absolutely wild.
Yeah, I'm
What
gonna look that one up. That's crazy.
what these crossbows are able to do and the FPS that they put out is nothing less than astonishing. Um, and I know multiple people who have claimed shooting a deer at anything over 450 FPS and the deer not knowing it. Like it's just moving that fast.
Yeah.
Um, and then I saw it for my own self, and maybe I'm not claiming to be a great shot, but maybe it was a perfect shot, right? It just went straight through the first, the ribs and never touched a rib, never broke a rib, and she barely knew it. Sure, maybe I'll give it a possible, but
Yeah.
reality, I think it's just fucking moving. I think it's just moving at such a fast rate of speed that these animals just don't know it.
Yeah.
And so I still personally believe that if you can pull back a bow and you're shooting a crossbow over 450, you are cheating yourself out of an experience that I think so few get to realize and get to have that fun doing, right? And
Yeah.
even bow hunting as itself, right? when you have to dictate, right, like you were saying earlier, when to pull back that bow, when to make that movement, right? Because it is a lot of extra move. A
It
gun
is a
is
lot of
what,
movement.
three actual moves,
Yeah.
shoulder,
Yeah. If that, if you depend on
safety.
where it is, yeah.
Yes, shoulder, safety, trigger, right? Three
Hmm.
typical moves. Minus if you have to twist over to actually aim, but shoulder, safety, trigger, you don't move at
And if they
all.
run, you're still on
And
them most of the time.
yeah, so I mean, and then you got guys like you shooting 30-06s. They're shooting artillery weapons. But
World War II, baby.
but yeah, I think bow hunting is a very special, and I get asked questions all the time. What is the best way to hunt? And I think that's such a horrible question to ask. I don't think there is a best way to hunt. Right? If rifle is what you can do, rifle hunt,
Yeah.
that's fine. If you want to experience a little bit of more challenging, more primitive hunting, bow hunting is absolutely the way to go. I know here in Rhode Island, there is no rifle hunting. You don't have that ability. You have muzzleloader, you have shotgun, you have bow, and then you have, for some reason, like spear hunting. Yeah, no, yeah, that's a thing. Yeah,
Why not a rifle? Is there a reason? Is it just like
yeah.
culturally that's what's up, or
No,
is
so a
it
lot of
space
the
wise?
space, yeah, a lot of the
Okay,
places here,
gotcha.
you're not shooting anything more than 10 acres.
Yeah,
And so between that, if I'm shooting a 308,
yeah,
that's traveling quite a bit of distance, or you
yeah.
shooting a freaking artillery cannon at 30-06, that's, you have a lot of extra movement. So, um, yeah, primitive wise, if you want the authentic, and I say authentic, right? When it comes to bow hunting, I think it's authentic. I think it is as true of a form of hunting as you can get. Being that decisive and that and I say lucky, right? Lucky to have that ability to make that movement where this deer doesn't know it, and then put an arrow into this animal, and then track and kill this animal. Lucky is absolutely the words that I would use.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking
Now
about
you,
like how many things have to go right to have that animal in front of you
oh my
is
god,
crazy to me. Like,
no,
'cause like people, my mom asked me, she's like, why do you hunt? Like,
no.
is it like, do you enjoy like the killing side of it? I'm like, it has nothing to do with the killing side of it. It's the preparation. It's the having a plan come together right in front of you. It's the literally having a wild animal be share the woods with a wild animal that has no clue you're there and having him come in front of you and have to put all these mechanics together to make a clean shot and it happens in this specific time period. It's like it's magic. And it's kind of hard to explain unless you're there, you're in the moment, you watch the woods wake up or you're watching it go to sleep. It's just kind of it's beautiful. But it's kind of hard to explain unless you're just kind of it's for you. But
No, I took out a sailor last year who has wanted to get into hunting. He never did, and I took him out, and I happened to get lucky. A doe just came by, and up here you can kill like 4 does per person, $2 per person. So it's a
mhm.
large quantity of deer that you can kill. But there's not a lot of hunters, and there's a large quantity of deer. So they try to equal it out as best they can. And the Fish and Wildlife office up here is phenomenal. They're awesome. But anyway, I sat down next to this deer, and he was like, "Why aren't you starting field dressing?" And I was like, "Dude, I was like, let me tell you this right now." I was like, an old man taught me this because I had the same mentality you did. I was like, all right, let's get to field dressing. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do that. I was like, if you don't take a second to appreciate what it took to get this deer, I was like, that the deer had, this is the first time like this deer has ever been touched by a human. Like, realize that.
Yeah.
I was like, put that into perspective, right? Like, this deer has lived his entire life with knowing humans exist and avoiding them. And you happen to be in the right place at the right time to make the right shot to put this deer down humanely. And then you are the first person to ever lay your hands on this deer's body. That's nothing less than amazing, right? This is an amazing moment. I was like, and I take 5-10 minutes. I was like, just to appreciate like what it took to get this, right? And maybe I got lucky. Maybe I just went out there and was like, let's just see what if I let's just have fun to this afternoon, right? And I get lucky. Cool. Still appreciate that moment
Yeah.
because you never know how much you miss that moment until it's June. And you're scrolling through TikTok, you're scrolling through Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and you see a video of somebody shooting up deer, and you're like, damn, I missed that moment. And you're like, I
Yeah.
can't wait for it to happen again, and then you're going to be chasing that high. And I don't know how you felt, but I still vividly remember the first dream that I've had after the night that I killed my first buck. And I remember replaying the entire hunt over and over and over the whole night, right? Just like all of the steps that it took. And those moments, I think, is what drives deer hunters. and just hunters as a whole, right? Whether you hunt pheasants, whether you hunt deer, hogs, turkeys, it doesn't matter what it is. Elk, moose, bear, um, we all still chase that adrenaline rush.
Hmm.
And that adrenaline rush is something that gets us through the off season, ready to get all of our stuff ready, practicing, like food plots. I know is big down south. We can't have food plots up here. Oh my God, if you get caught with bait, Jesus, good luck, dude. Um,
Like food plots even on like private.
no, man, no. Like
Oh
if
wow.
you're hunting, like if let's say you have to have agricultural rights to even
Okay.
have food plots. So to find a farmer who's willing to allow that, first off, the soil up here sucks. Trash trash soil. You're not really North New England is not known for its agricultural like outputs. So if you find a farmer who's like, yeah, I've got corn, be like, what do I got to do to let me hunt on that property, dude? Um, they have to actually file in for. They get certain rights to allow extra deer tags to prevent deer from eating
Yeah,
their
okay.
props. So
Yeah.
you're not it's few and far between. But I know down south a lot of people are like, hey, I've got 3 acres right here, let me make a 400 square foot or 400 yards of food plot, and then you're nurturing this garden all year round, trying to get this as good as it can be for deer season and or hunting season as a whole, and then you finally get it there, and then you finally put down that target buck that you've looked at, from summer to velvet to now hunting. And some people don't even get that deer till late season, last week, or if at all for that season, right?
Yeah.
That amount of work that it took, right, is just it's unbelievable, right? Like I don't know
Hmm.
if do you hunt on food plots or
I have not yet. Mainly I have on the small pieces of private I do have. I just throw out like those Moultrie feeders. That's about the most. I guess you can't even call it management, but that's about as intricate as I've gotten with. I'd love to do that. I'd love to at some point manage something or do food plots, but I think that's like one of the points where I've had people have this argument of the public land grant versus the private land grant, and I feel like they're equal in just different ways. Obviously, the public, you can't have the food plots, you can't have the bait, but then you have to go get it. You have to go find that deer. You have to put woodsmanship to the task and really get it done that way. But you flip to the private, you're putting the same amount of backbreaking work. You're putting in those food plots. You're paying for something. You're having to get the land. You're having to create whatever it is. That's trimming trees or whatever it is. I don't really know all that goes into it, but I kind of see from just kind of looking at YouTube and all the other things, and kind of talking to some people who do have property, that it's pretty difficult to kind of keep things like they should with burning and all the stuff to make sure that your property is pristine and good for these animals. So I mean, you can't really put one or the other. It's just what makes you happy. Like what tickles your fancy? Like what makes you excited as a hunter to get out there and enjoy what these animals that God's given us. So I mean, that's kind of really all it is. Like you find your niche and you roll with it. Stay within the limits of the law or whatever it is, but just go, get out there.
yeah, I can't specify. Stay in between the law, right? Like but no, it literally is, like I have done both aspects, right? I've done the managed property year
Yeah.
round to get to deer hunting, and then even during deer hunting you're still maintaining these food plots,
Hmm.
these tree stands,
The
the
roads,
the
like
people who are
everything,
coming
it's
in.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first year I did. I managed 210 acres in Paducah, Kentucky. I will never do that again as long
How
as
many
I live.
acres?
210. It was miserable. It was horrible. I was there was only 2 people doing it, and then one of the guys had a baby. So it was literally just me managing 210 acres with 8 hunters. And I don't think at all that year I got a chance to hunt. I think the entire time I was managing, and then I was so tired when it came toward the end of the day, I would just go to sleep, and then I was up by 5 managing the property the whole day. That's literally what I did all day long,
I ain't,
7 days a
I ain't
week,
built
and
for
I was
that.
exhausted. I was like, I don't even want to go hunt. I don't care. Fuck these deers. I was like, I don't care. I really don't. And uh, and then I knew what it took, right? And I think that's what makes good properties, right? Like these people who go out and lease properties, right? A
Yeah,
good property manager. And what I should have done is I should have told the deer hunters that were hunting on the land, hey, if you want to hunt here, you do have to put in work. It's
yeah,
not just paying to come out here and get this deer. That's not how this works. You can pay. You're going to pay for property rights, right? For leasing
yeah,
rights of this land. But you're also going to put in extra work, right? Whether that's 24, 48, 72 hours of work, right? Have them go and do like you're going to go clear brush, you're going to go clear, tree limbs, you're going to go check all the stands to make sure that they're up to date and that they're standards, and you know that would have knocked off months of work for me.
hmm,
But I didn't, and I made that mistake, and I did ultimately suffer for it. I didn't hunt at all that year. So yeah, I think it literally is. It's what you're willing to put in is what you're going to get out, right?
yeah.
Now, all of these hunters that were hunting on that property, they all killed anything less. I think the lowest deer that I killed that was killed that year was 123 inches, like
Good
monster
year.
deer, right?
Good year.
But oh my god, you're telling me. And he was like, "Oh, it's all right." And I'm like, "Dude, just shut up." Like, this is a monster. This is a monster. Most people don't see this type of
Yeah,
quality of deer. Um, and it is totally what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it, right? If you just want to pay for a lease of land, just do that. If you want to go hunt public's hard. And I don't think people talk enough about public hunters. How good of quality of hunters you have to be to go into public, not only fight hunters that are hunting public, but be able to navigate, right? Because public land is a couple thousand acres, right?
yeah,
So to be able to figure out where these deer are going, put yourself into a place of success and still come out successful more than the guy next to you is nothing short of impressive. So I know me and you had talked several times, and you were saying that well, I'm just a self-taught hunter. You're a self-taught hunter that's already killed 2 deer on public land. So it just shut up. You're doing all right. you're, you're doing pretty good, buddy. And I think people take away from that. So whether you hunt public or whether you hunt private or you pay or you don't pay, it I think ultimately still comes down to what kind of person are you, right? How much work are you willing to put in? Are you willing to make the humane shot by putting in the extra work to make yourself that much better than the guy next to you? And then, ultimately, are you going to appreciate these animals for what they're worth, right? And how amazing they truly are. So that is a level to me as a hunter that I wish everybody was at a
yeah.
baseline of, right? Put in the work, appreciate the animal, and no matter you hunt public, private, doesn't matter. Appreciate those moments, man. Like getting to getting to watch the woods wake up, man, is just it's
Beautiful.
something else.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God. When you hear
It's
everything
amazing.
kind of wake up
Yeah,
and the sun hits those trees and the woods that you've been staring at this bush for the last hour and you're like, that's a
yeah.
deer. And
It's
then the sun hits and you're like, shit, it's just a bush. Those moments, man, are
yeah.
better than some of the actual hunts that I've had.
Yeah. Don't let it be turkey season, man. Let hearing everything wake up, then you hear that. Pow!
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. 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 No, I think opening day of rifle, man, down south is like World War II. You're like,
Oh
dude,
yeah.
You'll be sitting in this tree stand, and you see nothing but squirrels, and there's just World War II going around you, and you're like, there's no way all of these people are seeing these deer. Like there's no way.
Exactly. I'm like, it has
And
to be the
then
same deer just running straight.
you're like, there's just got to be one deer or one herd of deer that's just getting
Yeah.
mowed down. You know, so now Georgia, correct me if I'm wrong. It is you guys don't have like zones hunting, right? Or did they change it recently?
Um, let me say,
Or is it like
sort
you
of, but
buy
not
a
really. Sort of, but not really. Like there's certain areas where you have certain doe days, or there's antler restrictions. There's things like that. If that's kind of a zone, but it's not like because I have a
yeah,
property in Alabama, and there's like more of a zone type thing where. But I think all of them are kind of like that. But
yeah,
I guess it's technically a zone, but it's just when I hear zone, I'm thinking out west where you're kind of boxed into this one area and you
yeah.
have to draw for that.
So I know like Kentucky specifically, the county that I lived in was it had its zone, right? So I was zone
Yeah.
4 with the private property that I hunted on. And in
Mm.
zone 4, between this date and this date, I could kill a buck. Between this date and this date, I could kill, anything with with an antler, right? So
Yeah.
um I how do you feel about zone hunting versus just buying a state license and then being able to go out and hunt whatever?
I feel like it's good if it's managed properly. So I feel like the zones were created by the biologists, by the DNR, like for a purpose. Like they know that plot of land better than anybody else, and they know what their herd needs. So it's like it's hard to fault them if that's how it's being utilized. Now, if it's like some type of money grab type situation, then that's totally different. But I feel like most of the time it's led through science, most from what I can heard, and there's a reason behind it.
Yeah, I
But
think I wish it was more regulated, right? Within standards, before everybody freaks out, within standards, right? I wish it was more regulated for the fact that I wish more biologists came in and looked at the herd population and said, hey, there's for every one buck, there's 5 does. Let's
yeah,
this year make it 1 buck for every 2 does, and then we evened out the population, right? Because any avid deer hunter who knows the deer herd on their property, right, will know that a dominant buck within that area will not have to work hard if there's more does. He's going to work less hard. He's not going to be moving. And during rut, you may see him 2 or 3 times at max because he doesn't have to work that hard. He doesn't have to go that far. He doesn't have to fight off other bucks. He's not having to defend his herd of does. It's easy for him. All he has to do is wake up and there's does. There it is right there. Your job's simple. So I wish that that portion of it was a little bit more heavily regulated.
yeah,
But as far as like what you were talking about, like the money grab thing, right? Where it's like, well, the state needs more money to regulate these animals. No, that's not how this works, right? I'm not okay with that.
yeah,
That's not my job. My job is to go out hunt and provide food for my family. That's it. You bring in the biologist. You tell me how many deer I have. I don't know. I know what I have on my trail cameras. I know what I see when I go scouting at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and
yeah,
there's 300 damn deer in this field, and you're telling me I can't kill a single doe?
yeah,
I see nothing but does in this field. How are you going to tell me that I can't kill one doe, right? So I think that portion of it is where
yeah,
a lot of hunters don't understand, and that's where you get people turning into those midnight poachers, right?
yeah,
Those midnight warriors who are like, well, let me take a 22 out here because I need meat, and you're telling me I can only kill one deer for because there was a time in Kentucky in the zone that I hunted, you could only kill one deer for the entire year, an entire season, one deer. So if you pulled that trigger,
dang,
that's it,
it's
dude. You're
over.
dead. You're done. So
Could you
it
go in
better have been
between
worth it.
zones though, or do you have to get a whole nother tag for
You
another
have to get a
zone?
whole nother tag.
Dang.
Yeah. So like it was, and so people were like, I'm not, no.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot of good people who turned into those midnight poachers, and it was truly because, and then they came back later on and they were like, hey, there's a overwhelming population of doves, and everyone in the like in the zone 4 was like, it's what we've been saying, fucking open your eyes, dude. So like, I think there needs to be, but it's a hard niche, right? And everybody
Yeah.
gives Fish and Wildlife, a hard time. They try to help. Every time I have
Yeah.
run into a Fish and Wildlife officer, I have had nothing but a great experience with them. They have
Me as
been,
well.
more than understanding. I've had many times where I'll look and like my tag on my boat is out of date, and they're like, "Hey, just get it fixed. Simple warning. Here you go, get it fixed." And I'm like, "Damn, I didn't even notice that. Thank you so much." Or they look and they're like, "Hey, this is a little on the shorter side," and I'm like, "It looked good for me. I'm sorry, that's my fault." I've seen them be nothing but fair. And I think if you have a good relationship with your Fish and Wildlife office, you should not fear them. They are trying to get you the most opportunity. These are the people who care more than actual hunters. They want
Yeah.
to see people get into this. They encourage people to. So I think those are things that are so misconstrued, that I wish would change. Um, Now, being an avid bow hunter, what is your what's your thought process? Because I know I've asked a couple people so far, with these broadheads. Man, they're getting out of control. They're getting out of fucking control. They're like, yeah, let me make this broadhead with 37 inches of cutting diameter. What can we see on Georgia Boy Outdoors? What is on your quiver right now that we can see that you're putting deer down with? Like, what's your go-to? What's your mindset with broadheads?
So initially I started with the whole cut on contact, double bevel, single bevel type thing. That was like what I got into. I was sharpening. Like I said, I was following the hunting public guys, and I went down the Ranch Fairy Ranch Fairy rabbit hole of high FOC and all that stuff. So that's kind of what I started out with. And I've had like a heavier. I mean, it wasn't super crazy. It was like 500 grains or so, something around there. But it was a heavier, probably heavier arrow than I probably needed for the setup I was running. Now I have the VIP combat veteran. It's pretty nasty head. I've gotten two of my does with that, and it's like or it kind of looks a lot like the Beast,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the flex cut technology. So I've shot that one. I've shot the Sever hybrid, and then I have the Beast in there as well. So I have VIP in there right now, the Sever, a Beast, and then I even have a Mega Meat. So it's just like I'm just trying to try different ones to see because I came from this whole I'm sharpening a single double bevel to I'm messing around with these mechanicals. So I'm just like I don't know what I like yet. So the Sever performed amazingly. The VIP Combat Veteran performed amazingly. I actually have gotten to know the owner Matt pretty well. He's a great guy. He's actually Navy as well, Navy veteran.
Okay.
He engineered the whole thing. I mean, shoot, support him. He's a great small company and he has a good product. But that's within my quiver. I got a little bit of everything in there. Probably add some more stuff because I have a couple iron wheels I need to try. And then I got the Magnus Stinkers. That's what I was been running until this year.
Yeah, I haven't tried. I've seen a lot of good things about the VIPs.
Yep.
I know what I'm running right now is the Mega Meats. And they're just
Can't beat them.
devastating.
They're hard to beat.
Um, they're ridiculous.
Yeah.
I know last year, early light, it was like I had a doe come down. She was during rut, and I had a doe come off the mountain, coming over the ridge line. I could hear her coming, and she ran 5 yards in front of my stand. And then I heard a buck coming right after her, and I could hear him grunting coming down, and I could just make out his body. I looked at my watch. Watch was like, it was 19 minutes before sunrise. So I was like, all right, I'm in my window. Um, so I pulled back and I shot high on this buck, and that mega meat was so devastating. It did not matter. It didn't matter. That buck ran 22 yards, dropped over dead. Um, and so I was like, all right, I'm sold. I
Yeah.
hands over, I'm sold on this. Um, but I do like what some of these smaller companies are doing, right? Like the spring technology where, it
Yeah.
bounces back when it hits a rib and then pops back open.
Hmm.
Some of those are insane.
Yeah.
And I know from, I do a lot of the processing myself. I don't
Yep.
really
Me
pay
too.
for people to do the processing, just for the pure fact of it's expensive, man. I like it's it's expensive, right? Deer hunting can be as cheap as you want it to be, you
Yeah.
know. So I think it is, if I can save $300 by not having to pay somebody to process my meat, I'm gonna do it.
Hmm.
Um, Now I do live in base housing because I am active duty military. I do live in base housing. So do they like for me to process my deer in my garage? Absolutely not. No, they don't. They hate it. I actually get a letter pretty much every year that's like, please stop processing deer in the garage. And I'm like, well, no. So, so I see a lot, but I think and the what is it? The REX, um, one of those broadheads.
Wreck.
Um, Yeah, the Rec HPX, I think is a or
Yeah.
X HXP or something like that.
Yeah. I have one of them, one of the variations of them in the garage right now. Probably
Yeah,
in the quiver at some point too.
those are pretty solid ones. From what I've seen. And then I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't mind Rage. I really don't. I think they deviated away, and they got away from what Rage used to be really good for.
Mm,
And they tried to compete with everyone instead of just being a top name company. They wanted to beat out everyone else underneath them who was coming
mm,
up with new and better things, right? So
yeah.
they instead of just staying with where you're at, right? Toyota doesn't just do other things because they're, a company or car company, right? They just stay with what Toyota knows. So
Yeah.
they deviated away, and that kind of took me off Rage for a little bit. But they're still doing good things. And I still have several
Mm,
things in my quiver from Rage. Their hypodermics are
yeah.
brutal. So I think those are good things. But now, as far as let's say you have somebody come up to you fresh into hunting, right? And they're coming in. They say, hey, like what's the camo you run? What's your are you a Sitka guy? You like to put in the $3,000 for for camo, or are you just kind of like a man? I come out in like a flannel shirt. I saw a couple of your videos of you in the stand, and it looked like you had that light camo right now. So what's your thought process on specifically what camo you use, why you choose it, and then on top of that, what is your thought process with a early season camo and a late season camo, and do you make that transition yourself?
Gotcha. So what I've been running early season wise is honestly a lot of stuff I turkey hunt out of, so it's mossy oak. It's just the lighter stuff. And then I think one of the other ones I wear a lot is like it's a Cabela's brand or Bass Pro. So it's just like a lot of lighter stuff. And the thing that just kind of when it comes to getting into hunting, like you said, it can be as expensive or inexpensive as you want it to be. And I've come to the realization that you don't necessarily need all the high-end stuff. Obviously, it's good, and there's a place for it. But especially like when it comes to early season, like a lot of these, like Carhartt, there's nothing wrong with Carhartt. You probably could rock Carhartt and be completely fine. And just get like a dry fit, like lighter shirt or lightweight shirt from Walmart or something like that. But if you wanted to go into like a specific company, First Light is the one that I've kind of been dabbling in the most, and I've gotten like a basically from early season to late season kit from them.
Mhm.
So I think that if you're going to put your money into something, definitely do the base layers. For here in Georgia, it we get 30s. Every once in a while, I'll get to the 20s, and I realized that I wasn't really wearing my bibs or my heavy weight cold gear until like January, and the season's about over. But most of the time, it's that midweight stuff or situations where I could just wear a base layer and just my normal like lightweight hunting gear.
Right.
But if there was one company as of right now that I'd be like, hey, I'd be confident in like a new hunter or some or a friend or you, I would say First Light. They have some great stuff. The merino wool stuff is amazing. They have very compactable or packable jackets and things that can easily get into a bag. You're not taking up a bunch of space. And space is very important to me now because I'm bringing camera gear and I just don't want to be heavy because we already talked about all that. So
Yeah.
I would definitely say First Light would be probably my go-to for turkey. You can't be Mossio. It's kind of hard to be Mossio.
I mean,
Especially
they're
in
a
the
name
South. It's
brand.
like, yeah, in the South, it's kind of hard to beat them when it comes to
Yeah,
turkey.
you're talking about something that has been tried and true, right? Like
Yeah,
they have absolutely, they have been a big name. They're going to continue to be a big name.
yeah,
And I know with a lot of companies, that's something that you look for, right? Something that you can say like, hey, this has been tried and true for a while. And I think like last year I was hunting the Cabela's camo.
that's
I
the one I have.
love
That's the top I got. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that outlook, right?
Hmm.
It's good early season and it's really
Hmm.
good towards the late season depending on what tree you're in.
Yeah.
I'm a big hunter when it comes to or excuse me, I'm a big believer when it comes to your position, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be wearing snow camo in a pine tree.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be
I never
wearing
really
snow
paid much
camo.
attention to it though. That's my other issue. Like I'm kind because the first light I feel like blends in no matter kind of what season it is. Mossy oak stuff or bottomland kind of does too once the leaves are off and I'm behind a tree anyways with saddle hunting anyway. So I have a tree in front of me and I'm
Right.
getting to the side of it. So it matters, but it doesn't at the same time.
Yeah, with a lot of the hunting that I've been doing up here, it's like I said, the trees up here suck to climb. So like I'm hunting, I've got a couple public or private lands that I hunt here and there, and they have 2-man stands or 1-man stands that they have already set up, that I just go in and hunt on. Um, so with those stands specifically, right, they're 15 feet off the ground, and they may or may not have a skirt. So what you wear, I've noticed does kind of come out towards late season, right? When you're
Gotcha.
when you're hitting that November, December, January time frame, and there is no leaves on the trees, and you're wearing fucking leaves on you,
Yeah.
you like you're
Nah, that
darker,
makes sense.
right?
Yeah.
And they have deer have very when it comes to movement with their eyes, right? They have parallel, corneas, right? So they pick up movement. They don't pick up colors. They don't pick up, light sensations or anything like that, but they pick up movement, right? And so if I make darker movement, that's going to get their attention a little bit quicker and they're going to whip their head around and be like, what was that? Why
Yeah.
is this darker spot on this tree? So I noticed up here, those are big things. But I'll tell you what company kind of surprised me that I ended up trying last year that I was pretty impressed with. And it's not a company that I would have ever said that I actually bought is Tidewee. I I I
Oh,
was
yeah.
I was actually blown away at the quality of product that they had the top bottom, right? Because it gets
Yeah.
cold. Fucking, it's so cold up here,
Oh,
dude. Oh my
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
As an
Yeah.
Alabama guy coming up here, and one of the days I went hunting was -10. And I was like, I have never
No.
experienced cold like I did. I texted my wife and I was like, I have never regretted any decision more than I regret this decision right now. I was like, I'm pretty sure my balls are frozen to the stand. I was like, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get out. But like, it was so bad. But
That
the
sounds
Tideweed
terrible.
having a top and bottom with the neck guard I was blown away at
Hmm.
the quality of um how quiet it was, its scent
Hmm.
control, and the level of attention to detail their camo had. So I would probably, if I was going to tell anybody new, a cheap hunt top bottom hunting cam set, probably Tide
Yeah.
Me, or the
Yeah.
Redwood. But
Yep.
I'm gonna I'm gonna take a look at the one you were saying. The I think the biggest thing is right is like do what's affordable. Don't go
Yeah.
out of your if you're blowing a budget to
No,
buy hunting
don't do
gear,
that.
you're already wrong, right?
No. Just get good base layer. Like really, you can do fine with Walmart. Just like if you want to spend money, do it. Get expensive base layer, and go from there. Or
Yeah,
pay attention to the weather in your area and act accordingly. Because you're
yeah.
either gonna buy stuff you're not gonna really use, like kind of what I did the first year. So that's base layer, I think.
Yeah, like I know I spent probably 450 on a
Yeah.
top bottom thick non-thick layer for this oh God, what is it, the redhead sentinel or something like that,
Hmm.
camo from Cabela's. Loved it, fantastic camo, very quiet, very good looking camo, and I beat the shit out of it and it still held up.
Yeah.
um but I also have hunted for a while and I know what I needed. And I
Hmm.
know up here it's cold and it snows a lot, and I needed something to keep me warm in those all day sits, right? And that's another thing, right? If you're gonna get into hunting, don't jump into the all day sits. You have no idea how hard that is. That is miserable. And I have you done all day sits yet?
Yeah, I that's just kind of I when because I a lot of what I now I have people to kind of ask questions to and like mentors. But when I first got into it, it's just kind of like what I saw or what I heard on a podcast or what I saw on YouTube. So all day sis was like once it's rut time, you're in there, you're grinding it out. That's kind of how it is. So that's kind of what I did, and I just kind of stuck it out. So
I think I met a hunter last year who was like, "Yeah, I took 3.5 weeks off work to hunt," and I was like,
what you do,
"I mean,
bro?
okay, but why?" Like what do you need 3.5 weeks off of work for? I was like, oh, you're doing all day sits for rut? And he was like, no, I'm doing all day sits in November. And I was like, why? Why would you subject yourself to that? That's
When's
a
y'all's
long
rut?
time. Oh my God, last year was horrible. Last year, none of it happened all at once. It was so
That's fun.
sporadic. So we'd have one doe hit hot, and then
Hmm.
you'd have 2 or 3 days where the bucks are just chasing this doe, and they'd chase her plumb, to the dirt, and then 3 or 4 days later, it was dead, and then a week and a half later, mama doe would go in heat, and so it was so sporadic because we had hotter temperatures last year,
Okay.
and anyone who's been hunting, who has been hunting for a long time, will know that temperatures absolutely 110% play into rut, specifically because colder temperatures bring in it's a natural instinct that kicks in. They're like, all right, it's winter. I need to get
Yeah.
pregnant now because I've got to get this baby out before
Yeah.
spring comes around, to have plenty of time to get this child up to the level of being able to protect itself by next winter.
Yep.
So last year it wasn't cold enough really to get us, for at least for up here, right? And I'm saying up here, being that like it was cold enough for like an Alabama deer to get into heat, was not
She's
cold
like,
enough
it's
for a Rhode
time.
Island. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was not cold enough for Rhode Island or Connecticut deer to say like, all right, yeah, it's time to go. Um, but I think those are big things, with that, and the other thing is like, so we covered camo, we covered, you know, position of hunting, right? Whether it's a blind, whether it's a saddle, whether it's a climbing stand or a two-man stand or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's what you have available, and then on top of that, it's what you're comfortable with, right? Don't jump into something
Oh
that
yeah.
you don't know what you're doing because you're going to waste a hunt, and that doesn't get the enjoyment port of this, right? So, those are big things. Now, the other thing that I think a lot of hunters don't talk about is scent control. What is your, everyone's been winded, right? It's gonna
Yeah.
happen. It,
It's
it
gonna
is it is
happen.
inevitable. With you, what can we find Georgia boys, scent control look like?
Um, So my scent control before this season, I would obviously wash my clothes. I would get like a scent-free, no brightener detergent from the store. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a brand that's co-signed by a hunting company at all. Just make sure it doesn't have any type of brightener in it and that it's non-scented. I wash my clothes. I usually try to hang them outside and dry them, just to like just kind of get that natural airflow on it. So it's not in the house. I try to keep them outside of the house as much as possible. I prep my washing machine as well, so I just try to spray it down with scent killer and just kind of run it a couple times, just make sure anything my type of like scents or anything my wife might have been putting in the wash machine is kind of out of there. And then I usually do about 2 to 3 cycles, depending on kind of how clean I think I need to get my washing machine. Once they're dry, I transfer them to a like one of those airtight totes, and I
Mm.
would throw like a ozone machine in there. Like I found like a cheap one from a store, and I threw it in there. And then I just let it run for an hour or whatever, and then I just leave it in the tote, and then I just bring the entire tote with me, and throw it in the car or the truck, and then kind of go from there. This season, my ozone thing broke, so I kind of just been doing the outside thing. I started using cover scents a little more this season. So I have a cover scent from my buddy Shiloh. It's Bone Reaper Outdoors, and he has a cover scent called Dirt Dung. It just smells like dirt, really. It's a pile of dirt, basically. So I
All
basically do the
right.
same thing. I clean it, throw it on the rack outside, let it air dry, and then I'll hit it with the dirt dung, and then I'll put it into the tote. And that's kind of what I've been doing. Most of the time, I try to play the wind. I feel like no matter what you do, like especially in Georgia in the early season, you're going to sweat regardless. So I feel like I'm
Absolutely.
negating everything I've done anyways. So I'm like, you basically got to play the win anyways. Obviously, you can get up there, you can spray whatever you want to spray, make yourself feel good. If you have confidence in it, use it. But play the win is what is really the key with it all. That's your scent control. But this season, I've been listening to a lot of the what is the name of that group? Um, Stick Boys. Yeah, Stick Boys. They're a traditional archery podcast, and they're on YouTube as well. And I think his name's Alan Altizer, and he talks about hunting a parallel wind or kind of giving the deer the wind. So I'm gonna this season I'm kind of gonna try that to see because he's like you gotta give them something. Yeah, especially when it comes to getting harvesting a more mature, bigger buck. They're not gonna just come when everything's in the hunter's favor. You gotta give them something. So you gotta give them an off win. So I'm gonna try to attempt to do that. But most of the time I try to make sure the wind's in my favor, make sure if my access is good, my exit is good, make sure the wind is not screwing my hunt up before I have a chance to see anything.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing with like archery hunters that I think people forget, right? Is wind is everything, right? It is your bread and butter when it comes to getting a deer to come in close, right? If I know that this green field that I'm hunting, at this corner of this green field is where they're coming to eat, and I have them down to it clockwork,
Hmm.
and I go out there and hunt, and my wind is blowing straight onto that field, I can assure you they're not coming into it, you know.
No.
So I think the biggest thing is like, figuring out where to sit in that afternoon, doing your homework, right? It's not to get these big mature bucks, right? These
Hmm.
like even just a doe, shit, doe will bust you faster than a buck will.
Doe,
That
they're
any
hard.
experience that yeah, any
You
experience
learn
I've
a
had with
lot from a
hunting,
doe. Who do you think taught the bucks? It's the
yeah.
does.
Yeah. A doe will humble you quicker than anyone else,
Yes.
and anything else, honestly. So, I used to be so, oh my God, I was so critical when it come to scent control, right? I would wash in no scent wash, right? In a bar of
Yeah.
soap. I was putting all my stuff in a crate and then getting butt ass naked outside in the cold wind, getting dressed because I didn't want any of my car scent getting onto my
Yep.
clothes. And then I would take the no scent with me and I'd go sit in the stand and I'd spray again and then I was
Yep.
freezing. come 8 o'clock in the morning, or right there when prime time bucks, 4:45 in the afternoon,
Hmm.
and I was freezing because I sprayed and it froze. Um, and I got into this, and I've been asking around, and an old man kind of gave me something the other day that's interesting, and I didn't think about it, and I tried it for the first time this year, and I will tell you,
Can I
I was
guess what it
impressed.
is?
Yeah, what is it?
Did you smoke up?
I did. Yeah,
Yeah, I've been thinking about it.
I
I've been
did. I
thinking
used the
about it.
bee smoker, man, and I will
Hey,
tell you, man, I had a swirling wind the other morning, and I fooled a doe within 5 yards. Big mama doe, and I fooled
yeah.
her within 5 yards of my stand. Um,
Huh.
and and it was like I was sitting in a valley, so it was swirling around and then flowing out, right?
Mhm.
I had her coming in from when it was going out, coming in 5 yards below me, and then going behind me where the wind wasn't there. Never once knew I was there. Never once.
Dang.
So
What were your
is there some
thermals
truth
doing?
to it? Do what?
What do you think your thermals were doing?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think it just, I think that day specifically, I think I think everything was kind of laying low, right? I think
Yeah.
there was a cold layer underneath with a hot layer over top, and I think everything was just staying, right?
Mhm.
So, which impressed me even more because I was like, my scent's here. It's not gone
Yeah.
anywhere. I know it's not. Because I was in the tree, wind is flowing. Down below, I didn't even know wind was going on, right? So
Mhm.
that's what impressed me even more. So I want to take a little bit more time this year and investigate the whole smoking method. It makes sense, and I've seen it do some good things. Maybe that was an off day for the doe. Maybe she wasn't really paying attention. Who knows, So I do want to take a little bit more into that. But as far as like scent control with me, Southern shooters, I think it's pretty consistent, man. Laundry, right? Starts there.
Mhm.
I'm not going
Yep.
to wash things that had just been washed for my son 20 minutes prior,
Yep.
right? Because my shit smells like it. The
Mhm.
washer smells like it. So I'm going to do a fresh, or, do a little load, have it run through. And
I
then
love throwing some towels in there.
yeah, once it's it's desensitized, and then I'll throw my clothes in there, put it into airtight lock. And I'll spray it down when I put it in there, let it sit in there, and I'll put it on the bed of my truck, right? Drive to the spot that way it's sitting, not in the cab. I can do whatever the fuck I want in the cab of the truck, and then get there. I spray the bottom of my boots. I spray
Yep.
inside the boots. I spray the thermals, and then I spray the top side. And then I go out there, and then I usually care it, like if I sweat my ass off by the time I get there, I spray again because I don't want to stink, and then I spray again. And that's really been about it. This year though, with the smoker, I tried that, right? And it was
Mhm.
it was a lot easier. I smoked myself before I went in the thermals. I smoked the clothes when I got them into the airtight thing, locked it, drove all the way there. It still smelled, and like there was smoke that was coming out of it when I got out there. Opened it up, put it on, and man, it was great. So there may be some truth to it. But
I'm gonna have to
twenty
try it. I'm
bucks,
gonna have to get. That's it.
yeah, $20 for a bee
Better than an
smoker.
ozone machine.
Oh my god, those ozone machines are a couple hundred.
Yeah, the one I got was like 30. So that might have been why it really wasn't working. But
Yeah, that's 100% why. But so and then let's get into this, I think the ultimate thing, right? What makes you a successful hunter, right? Like in your words, being hunting for several years now, what to you is a success? What is a good day versus a bad day? And then what ultimately for you and your day makes you a successful hunter?
so just a day-to-day hunting success would be honestly getting out there, just being in the woods and being able to hunt.
Yeah.
It's not it's like nothing's guaranteed. Like our lives are very, how do I say this? Like I said, nothing's guaranteed and nothing's promised either. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Our whole world can be shaken up and changed in an instant. So you just have to enjoy the moment you're in. And that anytime you have a chance to be in the woods, like we've been talking about, watching the woods, wake up, if you have the opportunity to just perceive and see an animal in its natural habitat and just be a part of the woods and get to see that animal just living its daily life, that's a blessing. And just being there is just that's the win. Like that's the win. If you get the opportunity to see like your target buck or your harvested animal or you see something cool happen that you normally wouldn't see and nobody would believe you, like that's just icing on top of the cake. But just being out there and being able to just do what we do, because there's so many countries where you can't is a blessing. So that's the win and like kind of what a good day of hunting is like just from that standpoint. When you get into the like harvesting side of things, I would say consistently seeing animals, especially when in your public land hunting. If you're on the does, you're doing something, in my opinion. If you're consistently getting any type of game animal and you're a public land hunter, you're doing something. If it's your first time ever hunting in general and you're on animals and they're not perceiving that you're there, you're doing something. So it doesn't have to be, oh, I missed a shot, I had opportunity, that was a good hunt. There's levels to it, in my opinion. So it kind of depends on where you're at as a hunter or an outdoorsman or woman. It just kind of depends on what's going on in your realm of things, and it's kind of based on the hunter. So I'm transitioning from I just want to see deer to I want to see more mature animals now. So it's levels.
Yeah. And I think that that level matures as you mature as a hunter,
Yeah.
right? Like as you become more successful, your level of success and what you perceive as a level of success will be it will upgrade with you, right? Um,
Hmm.
I live pretty pretty simple when it comes to hunting, right? My level of a good day, it's just getting out there, man. A good day hunting is better than a bad a
Any
good day at
day at
work,
work.
right? you know, um, I work on a submarine, so any day that I can see and be with sunlight is great. It's a great day.
One of my
Um,
mentors, that's what he did too. He's a Navy vet.
yeah. So, and then I think the other big thing, that I think so many people forget this. You will learn every time you go out there. Every single time you take a step into the woods and you just shut the fuck up and listen and you just watch. Even if you don't go, there are days that I go out there without a bow. I go out there without a gun. I just go out there to learn, right? And I go sit down in a stand and I just perceive. I just listen. I am pet, like a person in there, and I'm just watching. I learned so many things that I didn't know. Like, I didn't know that squirrels will bust you. I didn't
Yeah.
know, blackbirds and blue jays will absolutely bust your hunt if you're not paying attention. You know, a doe will humble you quicker than anything else on this planet. She will absolutely pick you out of
Smartest
a
thing in
tree.
the woods, man.
Yeah, whether you're under the ground or 40 feet above the ground, it doesn't matter. She will pick you out. And they're good at that. And that's a
Yeah.
humbling experience. But I think for me, going on 13 years of hunting, and have had, 160-inch deer that I've shot. I have been successful. I tagged out last year in 2 different states. Like I know successful hunts, and I know how to be a successful hunter. But it's not so much the harvest for me anymore. It is being able to go out there and learn enough to teach someone else to go out there and experience something as beautiful as the outdoors, right? To allow somebody to go out and learn on their own with a little bit of experience that you're giving them, a little bit of breadcrumbs here and there. Like I'm not gonna kick somebody to the finish line. No, dude, you're gonna have to learn like I did. You know, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, and to have these people go out and harvest their first animal and put hands on this deer or this turkey or this goose or this duck, and elk or moose or bear, and be able to put their hands on these animals and say, I did this. That to me, as a mentor, as somebody who's taught hunting, who teaches hunting, that is the most success I can possibly have. So I think those are big things that, like I said, and like you were saying, it does grow. I got to the point where I was like, I only want to hunt mature deer now. And now I can't wait to get somebody in a stand who's never gone. That is so much fun to me to sit here. Oh my God, watching somebody walk in the dark with a red light on is the literally the only thing that gets me going in the morning. Like that is what gets me up and just gets me going, is watching that fear, that pucker factor that every hunter has absolutely had when you walk into a stand in the early morning. You can't see anything but a red light and you're seeing 6 feet in front of you, and then you're just
Yep.
hearing shit snap around you. Oh my God,
Yep.
that fear is humbling. But then to watch the sunrise, to hear the woods wake up, and to hear something that it's time stopping. Like the whole world is so fast and so dead set on growing, that we forget to slow down. And when you're in the
Yep.
woods and you get to sit and just slow and just watch the earth,
Hmm.
and the nature just do what it's been doing for thousands of years, is such a cool experience.
It's like
So
factory
I think those
reset.
are, yeah. Oh my God, it's wonderful. That is my therapy, right? Like
Yep.
everybody has their form of therapy. That is mine. Either being out on a lake, being out on the ocean, catching these 1,000-pound tunas, or sitting here on a deer stand and watching this scrawny 80-pound doe bust me from a stand 80 yards away from me. Like those are humbling experiences. And
They're
those
very
are
humbling
experiences that
experience.
I could not imagine. I would pay any dollar in the world for. So I think those are big things. And I think as we get bigger and as we grow as hunters, and we introduce these new hunters to this, I think they'll get to experience that, and I truly hope that they do. But man, I appreciate you taking the time to come on and giving your 2 cents worth. And in Georgia, we're gonna close this out, and what can some new hunters down in Georgia expect to see? Like, what are you seeing right now in the woods? And give some final piece of advice, and any social medias you got, man, drop it in.
Gotcha. Unfortunately, I can't give you too much information because I've been in the house for the past 2 weeks. I haven't been able to get out. So, but it seems like it's starting to get to crunch time. I'm just kind of looking at what my trail cameras are showing me, and I'm seeing more bucks daylighting now. Um, I haven't seen too much like rut activity, but we're getting close from the trail camera data I got from last season. Right at that no second week in November is when I started noticing like some chasing on camera, some scrape activity during the daytime. I'm noticing like mature bucks kind of coming through, skating through, and then I harvested my buck, and I guess it was like second or third week of November last season. So that's when I'm really going to be trying to focus. I'm trying to get things done at the house now so I can hit it hard for those that week. So I would say if you're in the northern North Georgia area, because we vary so much, like South Georgia, there might be, I think they're getting probably close to, they might be even rutting right now. They could be, or fairly close to it. But in North Georgia, I feel like we're a couple weeks away, but it's gonna get to crunch time pretty soon. Um, from that standpoint. When it comes to social media, it's on Instagram it's GBO Outdoors 15 on Instagram, or you can probably just search George's Boy Outdoors and that'll find me. On YouTube is George's Boy Outdoors, and TikTok is George's Boys Outdoors. So I'm basically on all those. So just hit me up. I'm just here, just kind of grinding it out, trying to learn from the people I'm interacting with. I'm really just on social media to build a hunting community and a family. I'm not really trying to do much pushing of products. If I am pushing a product, I probably have some type of relationship with the person I'm pushing with, and I've tried the product out myself. So, but mainly it's just kind of learning together, growing together, and just coming getting a bond with those other outdoors men and women that kind of love the things I love. So, it's kind of what we're doing out here.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all about, right? Like that's
Yeah.
getting everybody in there and interacting with the guy, the people are out there who are putting in time, man. And
Yep.
I think people forget that, right? Like you put in a morning hunt, you're putting in 6, 7 hours right there.
Yep.
And that's a lot of man hours to be away from, family.
Yeah.
And being military, I know the value of a minute, right? Like
Yeah.
I've been gone for 6, 7 months at a time, and it sucks. So when I take that time to go out there, um, whether I'm successful or not, it's changed. But yeah, man, I can't thank you enough for being on and coming on and giving us your 2 cents worth. And you know uh dude, I've seen the TikTok page, and it's growing quick. I think what was like 150 something in the last 3 weeks,
Yeah.
different followers. Like it's ridiculous, man. You're jumping up quick, and I only see it getting that much better as the season progresses. And like you said, like you were saying a second ago, we're not in this to make $1 million. No one gets into hunting to say I'm gonna be a millionaire. That's not a
Yeah.
thing. But we're in it to experience, though, to show experience to those who are coming into it, to allow these animals to be harvested correctly, humanely, and properly, and to make this an enjoyable part of life that I think so much of the world has forgotten and doesn't know exists. So,
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and well, I'll definitely be checking in with you, during the season, man, and trying to get you back on a few more times, and
Yeah.
seeing where you're at, and during rut, seeing where you're at during the end of rut,
Hmm.
and in that late season, man, that's where it gets hard.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been hunting for a while knows that late season hunt, man, sucks when you're like, damn, I'm not seeing shit.
Yeah.
And you put in the
It could.
extra time, that's where it gets fun. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on, and we appreciate it. And like I said, I see good things coming for you moving forward, so I appreciate it again, and we'll get in touch.
I definitely appreciate it. We have to get together sometime, and thank you for your service, man. I definitely appreciate what you do for our
Appreciate it,
country.
man. Appreciate it, brother.